All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. We are back for another Let's Talk Fabulous show, and it is always so good to have you here with us. Today, we are going to be talking about allowing the fall to rebuild anew. It's going to be a powerful conversation. Let's talk. All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Good to see you all for today's conversation.
Hello.
We're in for a really juicy conversation today. So let's get into it. Let's tell everyone who you are. So just real briefly, I'd love to have each of you go around and say who you are and where you're located in the world. And I'm going to start with the newbie to the show right next to me here. Go ahead and tell everyone who you are and where you're located.
Yes, hi, my name is Brooke Van Doren, and I'm in Southern California.
It's good to have you here, Brooke.
Thank you.
All right. And Andy.
I'm Andy Grant, coming to you from Gardner, Massachusetts.
Awesome. Welcome back, Andy. And right below you, we have Dr. Heather.
Yeah, I'm Heather Taylor-Zimmerman, and I am on the beautiful waters of the Puget Sound in Olympia, Washington.
I love it. I love it. And last but not least, Albert.
I'm Albert Duarte, and I'm in Southern California.
Woo! Okay, and I'm also in Southern California. So we're definitely representing the West Coast today. And based on the weather, I think that's probably a good thing. So, all right. To our audience today, welcome again. Please let us know down in the chat, where are you joining us from? And as we move through today's conversation, as always, let us know what's coming up for you. This is a big subject, and we'd love to hear from you and what insights you have. So with that, I'm actually going to kick us off with a video. I'm going to start with Dr. Heather. So let's take a look at this.
We don't want to fall. Who wants to allow the trust exercise with the universe, which is the fall from grace, the descent into darkness? And yet we are here together. And so I wanted to share a vision that I had. I see angels, but this is the only time that I've seen angels that have shared their name as the angels of civilization. And what they did was they flew down a corridor of light in nature into a new Eden, where they seem to be rebuilding the base of a pyramid. And I want to share this with you because in this time of darkness, I saw a bumper sticker. It said, due to cost-cutting measures, the light at the end of the tunnel has been turned off. We need to remember the light of the stars. We need to remember the rebirth of the light within ourselves as we go through this collective initiation of the dark night of the world soul together. Remember, there is a new age to come, that we are rebuilding an order out of the chaos, a light in the darkness.
Okay, Dr. Heather, I'm going to put you in the hot seat and would love for you to elaborate.
Yeah, so I do see angels, which I want to say, just because that in itself, I think, gives us hope. And that angels are a part of nature, which hopefully we respect nature from that as well. But I had this vision, and what struck me, because it can seem so dark and it can seem so chaotic and disordered, that in the fragmentation of the world, that it felt like the seeds of something better being born or planted, almost like the foundation stone of a new civilization. And for me, that was actually the most hopeful thing. That's why I put it in the video, because we really need to believe in a foundation stone for the new building, whatever it is we're building, rebuilding after the fall. And that was the emblem and the image that signified that for me.
I love that. I mean, I love that you're bringing in, for me, angels, relates to spirituality. And whenever we're thinking of something falling, there tends to be also then uncertainty, right? This Oh gosh, if everything's falling and crumbling around me, what do I have to cling on to? And
Yeah.
sometimes there isn't an answer for that, but you sort of brought it back to, but we can still go to, say, the angels or whatever, yeah. Can you say more about that? Say more about, go ahead.
Yeah, so I lead rites of passage. I'm all over the map. But one of the things in rites of passage, you bring in what's sacred. And often, especially young people will have me start by saying, well, what is sacred? What does that word even mean? And that in and of itself is a great exploration, because to me, that's the foundation. What is sacred? What is inspiring? What helps hold us and fortify us? And to me, the reason I brought in angels and nature is those are two of the things. I sometimes joke I'm a nature mystic, but angels to me are a part of creation. They're a part of the fabric of the world around us. And so to me, the foundation is whatever is sacred to you. And in rites of passage, they have a saying, it's between you and you, but one of those is capped, big U. Whatever that is, and it can be nature with a capital N, God, goodness, whatever it is, but that to me is what we need to anchor into.
I love it. I love how deep we're going already. You and you, I love it. I use that too. I want to throw it back to our audience, and just, I'd love for the audience to chime in on how do you relate to you and you, right? And the big U and the little U. I love it. And Andy, I know, you do healing work with people as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on what Dr. Heather was saying.
Yeah, I think it's important for all of us to know that there's something more than us. Like I grew up, I thought I was just this meat suit, and I didn't like my meat suit, and I really tried to end my life multiple times. It wasn't until I was open and receptive to me being part of more that I had that hope, that inspiration to keep going.
Yeah. Albert, how about you? I see you nodding your head. How do you relate to all this?
I like when she said the foundation, and we all need to have a foundation, and I could relate with it because I'm like thinking about, as she was speaking, I was thinking about my journey, and I've always had that foundation of God, the belief in God, no matter where I was at. And I always knew that I was going to get through it. I just didn't know how. But it's just, again, that I like to call it both faith. Just knowing it's gonna work out no matter what. You're going to go into the unknown and you're going to come out whole.
Yeah. Heather, I love how you actually use the term sacred, because that then can be like whatever is sacred for the individual. Doesn't have to be one thing or the other, right? And so I know we have some audience members chiming in that they also connect to angels, and I love that, and I can relate to that. But I know that may not be the thing that's sacred for everyone, right? Brooke, I see you nodding your head a little bit. What's coming up for you as you just, as you hear all this?
Well, I connect to all of it. And Dr. Heather, when you talk about what's sacred, what comes up for me is like personal values, which I think is another way to kind of say the same thing. Like, what is important to me, and what are my, I guess, I don't know, like non-negotiables, what do I want my life to look like, and how am I going to stand on that? We're talking about needing a foundation, that's true. But sometimes, as we're talking about the fall and like rebuilding, sometimes our foundation falls out from underneath us. And so what we're left with is trying to figure out how to rebuild. And I think where we start is figuring out what's important to us and where do we want to build from.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. Yeah. For me, for years, I used to say, like, if you don't have a strong inner foundation, then everything's going to crumble, because what you have internally isn't built on that, right? It might be built on maybe ways you were trying to create your life, but in ways that weren't in alignment with you. And so all the things that could be considered false or just not authentic for you, I think eventually will fall away, or keep trying to fall away. And we can keep trying to grip on to, no, I need this part of my life to stay, to, keep working, but it's just going to get harder and harder. And so at some point, if we just allow things to end, to be washed away, and let's begin anew. And I love what you guys are saying, sacred, through what's sacred and through what we value. Absolutely. All right, we're gonna delve into hearing a little bit more about Brooke now, and so we're gonna take a look at this and come right back.
I stood at the side of the bed, his phone in my hand. It was 2:00 in the morning, and I had been restlessly tossing and turning. Sleep had proven to be my nemesis that night. Hands shaking and legs trembling, I scoured his phone, scrolling through text messages, social media, and photos. My chest tightened, sweat gathered in the palms of my hands, and the soles of my feet ached from digging them into the carpet. What was I looking for? What did I think I would find? Did I even want to find it, whatever it was? What would it mean for us, for me, if my suspicions were true? I didn't know the answers, but I continued searching for nothing. The nothing I wasn't even sure I wanted to find.
Brooke, tell everyone what you were reading and more about what you'd like to share today.
Yeah, so that was the first, I don't know how many seconds of a book I'm writing. It's actually a memoir of my own story. A little over 5 years ago, I discovered that my husband was having an affair. And if you keep reading from where I left off, that's like the next couple of words where you find that out, that was my truth. And so when we're talking about your foundation completely crumbling, mine literally did. And in that space, in my marriage at that point, my foundation was my husband. And so I looked to him to feel okay. I looked to him to kind of define me. And so when I found that out, it was almost like I lost who I was and didn't know where to begin to start rebuilding, because he was the definition of who I was. And if he just proved that he was an unsafe place to be, then what does that say now about me? And I mean, our story continues, but that's kind of.
Yeah, well, if you're open to it, I'd love to hear you speak to that, because you two are still together. Mm-hmm. And so will you just, share with everyone, what was that like when things were falling apart, and how did you decide to continue and rebuild anew?
It's such a hairy and complicated story, but to try to make it simple, which it's almost impossible to make a story like that simple. But we went to therapy. That was the first thing we did, was let's just see bare bones, like, can we make this work? And is it even something that's worth making work? And when we started, I was not interested in doing any work. I wasn't interested in talking about how our marriage got to the point of him having an affair. The only thing I cared about talking about was the fact that he did have an affair, and that he should be living in this atonement phase, which is, apologizing every single day for the rest of his life, to prove to me that he knows what he did, that he is responsible for what he did, and that he feels the angst and the fear and the betrayal that now I am like holding on to. That's where I wanted to live. That's where I wanted to stay, because that's where I felt safe. So long as I know that you know that I know what you did, I'll be okay. Right.
And that can be such a sticking point if we just stay there forever, right?
It's not possible to stay there. It's not. You will crumble yourself if you let yourself stay there, and you will take everything else that's important to you down with you. It wasn't until, sorry, Kim. Okay. It wasn't until my therapist pretty directly asked me if I had ever healed a relationship before.
Ooh.
And that was a really difficult question to answer, because I hadn't. My back history from childhood, my whole childhood was filled with abuse and neglect and abandonment, and like all the things that a kid shouldn't experience basically was my childhood. And so I never did heal a relationship. I didn't know how. And she told me, you know, you have the perfect opportunity right in front of you to heal this relationship. And don't you want to know what that feels like?
Okay, Brooke, pause there for a moment. It's getting one of these. That is so good. That here, I'm even going to give it another one of these.
I
Have
mean,
you ever healed? Go ahead. Go ahead.
that's when I said, you know, damn it. Like, I hate that you're right now. But yes, I do really want to know what that feels like. I've never known what that feels like. I've always been stuck. I've always known that I, you know, I was the one that would trip myself, you know, into my own success, you know, and I'd stumble down, you know, on my own feet and get in my own way. I always knew that, but I didn't know how not to do that.
Right.
And so I thought, well, shoot, like if you can teach me how to get out of my own way and how to trust and how to rebuild this relationship, and he can, you know, is proving to me that he also wants to be here and we can have what you're saying we can have, then hell yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it. I said that. Now that's a lot easier said than done. The work is a completely different story, but she instilled the hope in me that that I could have that.
Wow. We like to call on people here, but I'm actually going to be a little rebel and ask who else here has something they'd like to piggyback off of what Brooke just said. Yeah, Albert, go.
Yeah, Brooke, as you're speaking into that, I was a lot of things just came up. I was like, whoa. It just reminded me of also my relationship with my ex-wife for 25 years, of even why I was there. As far as wanting a relationship, it was 9-year-old Albert that was attaching myself to this relationship, this idea of this relationship. And, you know, eventually we got divorced, but now we're still in communication. I still see here, we have this loving relationship where we haven't reconciled everything, but we've tried several times. And when I look back, and it was like, wow, you know, we had to go through that divorce to get to where we're at today. And going back to that healing part of, I even asked myself one time ago, when I really looked at it, I said, wait a minute, is it Albert, the adult, that wants this relationship? Or was it Albert, the 9-year-old, that didn't have that relationship with his mother and had this idea of what he wanted? And then when I had it, I didn't know how to show up in it. You know, it was difficult, where I felt I lost myself in it as the adult, but the little kid was still, I want this. And so finally we separated about going on 2 years now. And everything has just been a lot better. The healing is there on both sides. We're still loving towards each other. We have a grandkid that we share together. And again, going back to allowing the fall, so we can reconcile and build a different foundation.
What I hear both of you speaking to, and I feel like this would fit into everyone's story, is that when we let those things that we identify as, well, this is my foundation, right? And so this feels so heavy, so mind-blowing that this foundation is completely crumbling. It really brings it back to, so who am I? And I really got that as you were saying, Albert. Is it the 9-year-old me that's wanting this, or is it who I am today? It really calls in that question of looking at, wait a second. Yeah, who am I today, and what am I building upon if I do move forward from this place in the same direction? Yeah. Andy, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, it just reminds me of the thing that I discovered the hard way multiple times. The most important foundation is self-love.
Yes.
No one else can love me enough to fill up the hole if I don't love myself. And I think, you know, I don't know if it's possible to grow up without some sort of childhood trauma, but so many relationships are being, wounded children going into relationships.
Yes.
They don't love themselves. They haven't healed anything. So that's why things fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I completely agree. I so agree. Dr. Heather, please chime in here. What are your thoughts about what's been said?
Yeah, well, a lot of thoughts. One is that sacred shares the root with sacrifice, which is really this tricky thing of we need to relinquish something. Even Brené Brown says to forgive, which is part of this arc of transformation. We have to let something die, and it's often what we thought was sacred, like old beliefs. Brooke, you were talking about, you're right, wanting to be sure in that old foundation that was so insecure. And then that's the core wound. So I work with a lot of depth psychology, and that, we are only as evolved when we're triggered as our wounded child. And so going back to those core wounds, and all of it is that paradox of you're invited into the instability of growth, and you have to leave what was the false stability, of really your complexes and your wounds. And, but yeah, so I resonate with everything. I also just want to throw out, I've been with my husband almost 40 years, and we broke up early on. And I think sometimes those break points are the potential growth moments, and I think that we never could have had the relationship we have now if we hadn't been willing to go through that process.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, the Rumi quote, "The wound is where the light comes in."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what's showing up here. It's really kind of like this dichotomy, right? I have to accept that what I knew is ending, is falling away, but also where do I see light? Where can I see that hope of a possibility of something new, something maybe even better, something more? It's kind of twofold there. All right. I am loving this conversation, and I thank you to our audience who's here with us, really chiming in and contributing as well. And we're going to take a moment to enjoy an original song that just, really speaks to this subject and the power behind it all. So we're going to take a moment to hear a song, and we'll be right back.
When the ground starts moving under me and the walls begin to shake, I don't freeze in the falling, I don't fracture at the break. I've learned how to bend with the pressure, I've learned how to hold my ground. Every change that tries to test me only makes me stronger now. Let it move, let it turn. Every fall is a chance to learn. Feel the ground beneath your feet. This is where your strength will meet. When it shifts, I don't quit. When it cracks, I commit. Every break clears the way for something stronger to stay. I don't run, I don't drift. I stand firm in the lift. Every storm that hits, I'm stronger than the shift. I've seen seasons rearrange me. I've watched old foundations fall, but I built from what is left. I don't lose myself at all. There is fire in resilience. There is power in the climb. Every ending writes a future. This is where your strength will meet. Every shift is mine to take. When it shifts, I don't quit. When it cracks, I commit. Every break clears the way for something stronger to stay. I don't run, I don't drift. I stand firm in the lift. Every storm that hits, I'm stronger than the every time it hits, I'm stronger than the shift.
And that was another original song by Tamara L. Hunter Productions. Thank you, Tamara, for that. Yeah. Who said that? What'd you say, Albert?
It's a great song.
Mhm.
Yeah, it really like gets the energy flowing, right? And that strength. And I think I really feel like it speaks to like that dichotomy I was talking about too, is like there's a degree of we tend to think of strength as, well, I need to keep holding on. I need to tighten my grip, right? If something's falling apart, I have to hold it together. And what if being strong is doing the opposite? Being discerning in a moment when, no, now it's time to actually release and allow. Okay, we're going to hear a little bit more about you, Albert. And so I'm going to play a clip and then would love to have you share a little bit more about how you relate to all of this. So here we go.
A lot of people, come and tell me, say, hey, well, you stopped because you got cancer. I said, no, I stopped because I made a choice. And I remember talking to somebody a long time ago, and he said, how do you stop something? It was the same way you started it, right? You started it and made a choice, and you stopped and you made a choice. Did I try to stop for a long period of time? Yes. A lot of things that happened in my life in those 13 years, and how I see it today is how I made that decision, and life happened for me. It didn't happen to me as far as having cancer and drugs and alcohol and all that stuff, but it helped me to see a lot of things, how I affected others in a negative way. But at the same time, when I made that decision, how I impacted other people's lives. And not only did I set myself free, but I set a lot of others on the path to their freedom also.
So many good nuggets in just that little clip, Albert. I'm going to put you into the hot seat and would love for you to elaborate.
Yes. So I was in a dark place for about 13 years of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. There was a point in my life where it was pretty interesting because I always knew what I was doing, and I knew that it wasn't me, but I couldn't really face or admit the reasons why. And I was just running away from some of that childhood trauma, being in a place where I didn't want to be at the time. And I just allowed it to continue. And like I said earlier, I knew I was going to get out of it, but I didn't know how. But I just wanted to read part of Psalms where it says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And I always hung on to my faith. And it was without my faith, I don't think I would have got through it. And 13 years into it, I get diagnosed with kidney cancer, stage 2. So I go in and lose my kidney. And I remember laying there, and my 13-year-old daughter walks in the room, and I looked at her and I was like, ooh, I'm getting emotional. And I saw her and I was like, wow, they need me. You know, I need me. And that was the moment. That was the moment that I made that choice. And it's the interesting part about that, every now and then I get somebody to tell me, hey, you don't even have one. And I said, no, that's what being sober is not having any. and the better part of all of that, I'm also a high school baseball coach, and I was working with a kid and talking to them about choices also. I was talking to the whole team. And because I made that choice 10 years ago, I've been 10 years sober and 10 years cancer-free now. And because I made that choice then, this kid on my team has a potential to get a scholarship because of the people that I put myself in front of, and was able to because of my sobriety.
Albert, it's getting one of these. Wow, Albert, thank you for sharing all of that. Wow. Brooke, I saw you clapping.
Where are those tissues?
Yeah, right. Here you go. Here's the tissue. Brooke.
Yeah, I was clapping because I don't have a personal experience with addiction, but my mom did. And so I'm I lived through that and what the addiction did to me or told me about myself. And so I can only imagine how difficult it must have been to let yourself like feel all the stuff that comes with having to make that decision and be sober. That part of the reason why we do anything we do is to mask the feelings and to not feel them, because they're so, sometimes they feel like they're bigger than we are. And what do we do with stuff that's bigger than us? Because if I feel it, I'm going to literally implode. And I just, my hat's off to you. I imagine that's very, very hard work to do.
Yeah, especially when everybody around me was drinking and doing drugs. And remember the crazy part is when I quit, I had some of my friends call me and say, hey, can I get that number to your connection?
Wow.
I was like, wow, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to.
Wow.
And very interesting, that person, I drove him to rehab 5 months ago. So he took another 10 years and to finally get to that point of, hey, I'm going to stop.
Albert, your story is so beautiful. It really speaks to allowing something to be bigger than what was the big thing, or bigger than you, however a person might relate to it. But I hear you saying allowing the love for your family, allowing the love for the students that you coach, allowing other things to be bigger and replace like what that thing was that was,
Yeah, I've just come up with purpose. It's like what my purpose is really on this planet to do, and is to serve others. So that's where I automatically fell into. And I believe I was doing that before, and it was just, it stopped for a while. And it's here.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely. And I think this is an excellent time to just give a little tribute to our Purple Hearts Club and anybody we might be remembering who's no longer here with us. Just taking a moment to do that. So we'll be right back. All right. Well, we have more. And so, Andy, I don't want to delay any more hearing from you. You have a powerful message that you've shared for the show. So we're going to hear from Andy, and then we'll be right back.
Hey, Andy Grant here. A couple of years ago, I stopped fighting. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly. I was at a low point, burned out, disconnected, and instead of trying to fix it, to optimize it, to positive think my way out of it, I let myself fall. I decided to act the way I thought the typical happy American acted. Working just enough during the day, vegging out for hours in front of the TV each night. Bare minimum effort. No vision, no growth, no big picture. I fell. And sometimes the fall isn't failure. Sometimes it's your nervous system saying, I can't keep performing. Or in my case, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. There's one thing I learned about falling. It's best to ask for help before you think you need it. We don't have to hit rock bottom to start rebuilding.
So good, Andy. Okay, it's your turn. Please elaborate.
Oh, this has been so much great stuff already here. One thing that's top of mind right now is the tighter we hold on to something, we talked about gripping and clinging, the tighter our grip, the less we can hold, right? Yes. So it's opening, it's allowing, it's releasing. When Albert's 13-year-old daughter came into the room, he didn't reach out and grab her. He was like, oh, right. He was opening, he relaxed into it. And, this is called allowing the fall. And we can resist the fall, but that'll make the fall worse. So it is so incredibly rare in this world for progress, for growth to be linear and nonstop. So I think the fall is just part of the dance of life. And I thankfully, I don't know, thankfully or not. Anyway, I've learned from my falls that they're inevitable and I always end up in a better place after it. But if I resist the fall, I'm resisting the good that comes after it too.
Say more about why you believe that you always end up in a better place after.
That is based solely on my experience. If you want to call it the bounce back, the rebound, recognizing what's important. One of the biggest things for me was being willing to be wrong. It was my mindset, my closed-mindedness, what I thought was clarity and certainty about things, and I would hold on to them as tight as I could, and they would let me down, or I'd let me down, whatever it was, things would fall apart. The lack of a foundation built on my own self-love would have things fall apart. And on the other side, I discovered angels, discovered the light, discovered service, discovered all these great things that bring much more fuel and vibration and high frequency to my life than I had before. So again, it's necessary to fall. Like I'm sure it's been said many times by past guests. When we were children learning to walk, if we fell once and gave up, we'd be a nation of tadpoles. And I don't know what would be, but we all have to get up, and the thrill and joy of life is getting back up.
There was something that was coming to mind and it just walked away. So I want to hop over to, thank you, Andy. We're not done, but I want to hop over to Dr. Heather. And is there anything you would like to add to this? I feel like there's something brewing within you.
Well, a couple, and to Albert too. I had cancer, and I've had people really close to me with addiction and suicide, and I work with patients with all of this. So I think the fall is one way to say it, and then going through the dark night of the soul, is the initiation. Like the fall can be a fall, but it's also crossing the void. It's stepping into the unknown and the mystery and the discomfort and all of those things. And I think what we all kind of exemplify and speak to is that there's something greater. Like if we release something, it's to receive something greater. If we walk into the darkness, it's into greater light. And I guess the one thing I would say that, because when I had cancer, I did chemo and radiation and actually had a pretty serious death scare, which is good in the sense that it's this ultimate fall. I think when you get closer to death, you get closer to life. That sometimes you have to lose something to even realize what you had. And so all of these are this movement into the opposite. And part of it is just getting comfortable with discomfort,
Mhm.
you know, because that's part of the growth edge.
Yes, yes. Okay, you guys have said so much. It's getting this.
Yeah. And as actually the last thing I would say, because I don't know if we've talked a lot about it, but fear, you know, fear gets us to constrict, love gets us to open. And a lot of it is, it's hard to open into the unknown and open despite the fear and the darkness. And that we're not a closed system, we're surrounded by other people. And so, especially when other people are fearful, it's hard to be open in love. But that's a lot of what I feel like everyone's speaking to, is that's where the opportunity is.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of brings it back to, so if everything's falling apart and there's all this fear and all the people around me are also fearful, then if I bring it back to what's sacred, and if I bring it back to faith, right, and where there is some light, and lean on that, then what new thing can emerge and start to be birthed. And Andy, I want to go back to what you were saying, because what was really popping for me, you were speaking about vibration and all that, is the whole law of attraction concept of swimming upstream. And I don't know, does anything show up for you as I mentioned that? Kind of like swimming upstream is like constantly fighting against the current, right? But if we, okay, wait a second, I'm getting signs and signals. Let me go with the flow. And how might this even be easier, even though it's just uncomfortable?
Yeah, this goes back to something that's been said, choice. Sometimes doing the right thing, the proper thing, feels like I'm going against the current, but then I got to realize, oh wait, am I swimming against the current of love because I'm in fear, right? So I got to make a choice to adjust, to go. You know, I didn't always believe this, but I find that life unfolds for our benefit, right? The universe really is on our side. So whenever I'm struggling against something, like, and it's really hard and difficult, like, all right, what am I seeing wrong? What am I misunderstanding? Right? What can I open up to? What redirection? And yeah, you can waste a lot of energy and time trying to go upstream and get to something that you thought you knew, and maybe that was just some egoic thing. Maybe it was something someone said you'd be great as a veterinarian when you were 9 years old, and you're like, oh, I've got to force this to happen. And force is not the way of love or of life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And of course we have Tamara here saying, go with the flow. Yes. You guys are sharing so many good nuggets. I love it. Thank you for how you have shown up today and all you've shared. We're not done yet, but we are going to just pivot for a moment and take a moment to celebrate one of our Fab Five hosts here at the Let's Talk Fabulous show. It is her birthday today, and we adore her. We absolutely love her. And so big shout out to Queen Barbara J. Beckley. Happy birthday to you. This is for Barbara.
Queen Barbara walks in with a smile, faith and joy that light the room, serving hearts wherever she goes, helping every diamond bloom. Diamond factor shining bright, helping voices find their light. Success Saturdays lift us high, she helps our confidence rise. Queen Barbara shining so bright, faith in your heart, light in the night. When the world feels heavy or blue, you just smile and say flip it, you got this too. Queen Barbara, joy in your spin, take a deep breath, let calm begin. Lift your hands and breathe it through. That's the Barbara view. With the buddies sharing love, lifting hearts when days are tough. On Let's Talk Fabulous, we see joy and positivity, serving others strong and true. Every room lights up with you. You remind us every day, love can lead the way. Queen Barbara shining so bright, faith in your heart, light in the night. When the world feels heavy or blue, you just smile and say flip it, you got this too. Queen Barbara, joy in your spin, take a deep breath, let calm begin. Lift your hands and breathe it through. That's the Barbara of you. Na 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 na, shake it away. Na 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 na, brighten the day. Lift your hands, breathe it in, whoosha, let the joy begin. Na 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 na, worries go. Let your light show. Flip the moment, shift the view. There's a queen inside of you. Queen Barbara, shining so bright. In your heart, lifting the light. Every heart here celebrates you for the love you always do. Joy in your spirit. Take a deep breath. Let calm begin. Happy birthday, shining star. Barbara Beckley, there you are. That's the Barbara view. That's the Barbara view.
Oh, I just love that. Watching Barbara dance is so fun. Okay. So let's start to wind the conversation down. And what do you guys think about what might be some reasons people try to stop change? And it's okay if there's a repeat of some stuff, but let's just kind of like highlight some of these things. Why do you think people might try to stop change? And what are some tips that you could offer to support them in allowing them to release, allow the fall and have that be a little bit more easier?
I can go to Andy was saying decision a couple of times, and crisis in different languages is opportunity, but it's a change or turning point. It's a decision point. And so partly we're just habituated by our world, by the energy around us, and that at some point we do have to make our own way. I think it's a move from the ego to the soul, but however people language it, we need to go our own way, which is often moving against the current. If it's fear coming at us, we come with love. But I want to underscore the word decision. There's an agency, a sovereignty. We have to commit. And having cancer, the one thing that I got from it, Albert, was I'm not done. Like, I have not fulfilled my soul's purpose. And then it's like that, what am I here to do? And if that helps you to decide, whatever that is, that's sacred, decide.
Love that.
I'll follow up with that. I know Andy mentioned egotistic or egoic, and that just stood out. Again, our ego's here to protect us, and especially in this hustle and grind culture, I think we forget who we are, and it's like we're out there, not in here anymore. And one is to create awareness of what's happening and to be able to create that shift. And ultimately it's ease and flow is the way of the sage.
Yes. Yeah. Andy.
Yeah. So I think it is, we've been mentioned already, but fear keeps people stuck. Uncertainty, that's what keeps people stuck. But the universe is constantly expanding. It is expanding at a faster and faster rate. That's because we, as human beings, are willing to expand and step into the new. If we all stayed stuck, it'd be the end of everything.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Yeah. Brooke, how about you? What's coming up for you?
Oh, it's all of it. I've been writing down a couple of notes back. I think it was you that said it, Andy, the current of life and swimming against it. And sometimes I think that when we feel like we're swimming against or swimming with the current of life, we're comfortable. We are maybe in our comfort zone, and our comfort zone doesn't have to always be comfortable, but it's familiar. And what feels familiar just feels like, okay, I'm just going to go with the motions and go with the flow and just live life and not really feel anything awesome about it. It just is. And I think the fear of swimming against the current is that it doesn't feel natural. Our emotions, or like Albert, like that inner 9-year-old, the little parts of us scream at us because this is not what we're supposed to be doing. We are not used to doing this. And I think a good reminder is that the good decisions we make in our lives don't always feel that way when we make them, but it doesn't mean they're not good for us. And to really, if we can, my biggest piece and what has helped me so much through that healing process and even into today is curiosity. Is just curious instead of judgmental of how I'm feeling, or defensive because I don't feel like changing, or I don't like what you're saying to me. Being curious about why, where's this judgment coming from, or why do I feel defensive about this? And is there something in there that needs my attention?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm hearing show up as all of you speak is taking another look at what we're believing about the situation as well. So it can be so easy to believe that, well, no, this thing that I've been working on, or this thing that I label as a core part of my foundation, it's supposed to be there. And so that can keep us in that stuck pattern of like, well, I'm going to keep trying to like tighten that grip and keep trying to make it work and keep trying to fix it and keep trying, right? Keep. And maybe I need to reassess. And like you were saying, Brooke, step into curiosity because, oh, wait a second. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's not supposed to stay. Maybe it is time for things to shift. And maybe my higher power is able to see more than I can. And maybe something new is trying to come in and I just wasn't realizing how holding on to this thing is preventing that. Maybe life is trying to take me in the direction of exactly what I actually want more of. But I'm so used to looking in this direction, I don't realize that's actually what I want, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say one of the foundational things that was mentioned, they call it pronoia. We're so paranoid, right? The world is conspiring against us. But if this is a trust exercise with the universe, pronoia is the world is conspiring for and with us. And that, yeah, for me, that's what helps me do the trust exercise with the universe.
So good. Thank you for I've heard that word before, but thank you for bringing that word to the forefront and really like, I think that's sinking in. We're nearing the end of today's conversation. I know there's so much more that all of you could say. So I guess we'll just leave it as, what are your final thoughts? If we could maybe just have like 15, 20 seconds for each of you. And I'll start with you, Albert. I'm
just going to go back to, doesn't matter how many times you fall, you can get up. It's biblical. And he did it. Jesus did it, and he resurrected. So we can resurrect our own lives too.
Oh, love that. Thank you for that. Brooke, how about you? What are your final thoughts?
I would just go back to curiosity being just a foundational pillar to really just check ourselves and constantly just being aware of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and if we are stuck or if we're moving in a direction that is meaningful for us.
Yeah. Love it. Andy, how about you? What are your final thoughts?
I'm going to bring back the choice. In any moment, you can be right, you can be happy. Sometimes you can be both. But if the most important thing is to be right, you're going to have a rougher ride.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Dr. Heather, what would you like to leave everyone with?
Self-love and self-compassion. Going through hard times, especially with our wounded child, really nurture yourself as you move with choice.
I love it. Thank you to each of you for everything you've shared today. And thank you to today's audience for really being here, being present, and sharing your thoughts, how this has shown up for you. And I think lastly, I just also want to use the word, discernment. There's a time and place for, sometimes it does make sense to hang on, and other times it makes sense to let go. And I love how, Dr. Heather, you were talking about like that self-compassion and grace. Be easy with yourself as you're moving through whatever life is taking you through, however you're learning through it. You are loved and you are love. Have an amazing, fabulous day. And I've got to end the show now. So we will see you all again soon. Have a fabulous day, everybody.